Travis Wayne Goodsoe. This is the recap of the first session, in which I was told directly by Elder Anderson to shut the hell up. Hilarious! You know, Nelson gave me a death threat on October conference last year, and sure enough, was true to his word. With Holland following in the West Jordan youth or young adult meeting, giving a follow-up death threat. Anderson, no, and others were telling you to stay away from me, and it was hilarious that they think I'm getting lots of views, but I confirmed that my video, Bring Your LDS Missionaries Home Now, was shut down by the church. It was a breakout. In 12 hours, I was up to 130 views. And then, boom, nothing. And so only yesterday and today, we got an extra 5 views. And now you know why. Because they are pushing to keep the missionary program going with your children's lives on the line. They want them dead. And however many suckers they can get into the church to pay them more money, they don't care about your kids' lives. Very dangerous and deadly, these guys. And you guys are getting suckered into it. And so, remember, this is not the 192nd session. This is the 98th session. 2 years, it'll be the 100th session. And we all need to hope the great and abominable church falls, because we will all be doomed otherwise. And they refer to it, they confirm and agree with me, they just interpret it differently, and know that you interpret it differently. I just did that video, and I keep doing those videos about how they use brainwashing techniques on you guys. I'm trying to save your lives. I'm the peacemaker. They are the liars. They are the contentious ones. That's how they twist things. So, are there anybody listening, or did you do the drinking game that I suggested? When they call out Jesus, you drink? You drink a shot? There's so much Jesus, I wouldn't even have lasted. Of course, my DNA, I can't handle alcohol at all, so I can't touch it. But yeah, I would have been barfing up in the tub, because having 2 marriages, I keep the toilet seat down. So I wouldn't have made it to the toilet. Oh dear God. So I'll try to make this as quick as possible for time constraints. So it was nice to hear Beethoven as they're showing the temples, but again, if you don't know your Book of Mormon, you're going to be clueless about what they are confessing through picture and song. And if you are clueless, let us go to the Book of Mormon on this. It's in 2 Nephi chapter 5. Nephi escapes from his brothers and gets to the place that they call Nephi, and build a temple. And the temple is talked about in verse 16, but we have to read verse 15 because it's hilarious in the context. And I did teach my people to build buildings and to work in all manner of wood, and of iron, and of copper, and of brass, and of steel. and of gold, and of silver, and of precious ores, which were in great abundance. Okay, you got that? Now verse 16. And I, Nephi, did build a temple, and I did construct it after the manner of the temple of Solomon, save it were not built of so many precious things. For they were not to be found upon the land. Gold, silver, precious ores, which were in great abundance, not found on the land, huh? Okay. Wherefore, it could not be built like unto Solomon's temple, but the manner of construction was like unto the temple of Solomon, and the workmanship thereof was exceedingly fine. And if you do not see what they are actually trying to tell us here, even though they make a huge error in the very next verse, is that when the people are poor, you are the great and abominable church when you build big, lavish, expensive buildings and temples and churches. The church is not more important than the people. People come first. The people are Zion, not the church. You don't need a building to worship God. You don't need a building, and you shouldn't have a building to prove your point that your church is true. And this is what they present to us at the beginning of conference before it began. The big, lavish, expensive temples that dot the land. As there are numerous Mormons who are poor, and many millions who have left the church because they're poor, thinking that the church would help them become prosperous. Oops! And so, do you notice on the YouTube thing at least, there's a little watermark in the lower right hand corner? You notice what's missing? They took out the cornerstone. Oh, but they left the chief cornerstone of the cornerstone, Travis. What happens when you take the keystone out? The whole thing falls. And so, yeah, they took the cornerstone out. Yeah, the building falls. Excellent symbolism. Good job, guys. The statue image of Constantine's Jesus. Yep. And so that's what Mormons are being deceived about. We've all been deceived about. The first vision says Constantine's Jesus is an abomination. That's what he's talking about. That's the creed, the first of all creeds. An abomination. Constantine. And so it is an anachronism to impose Constantine's Jesus onto the New Testament, onto the Old Testament, onto the Book of Mormon, onto anything that Joseph Smith wrote. Even though there is the name, it is an anachronism. You are imposing something that did not exist onto older documents. And that's why it's an abomination. Is because he turned the scriptures into literal history books. And they're not. They're books of revelation, apocalyptic literature. They're prophesying of the latter days and of the man like Moses after the learning of the Jews. That is our Christ as Mormons, from Joseph Smith. And so as you heard Jesus all the time and you got drunk so much that you've passed out and you're not able to watch my video, until 3 years later when you wake up, you understand now that they are talking about resurrecting Constantine's Jesus. That's who they're talking about. They're not talking about the man like Moses. They're not talking about Emmanuel, the sun at noonday. They have resurrected Constantine's Jesus to lie and deceive you. And notice on all the temples, the Salt Lake Temple was the only one that got an upward view with the bushes covering up the keystone of the doors of that Salt Lake Temple. Why? Because they don't want you to know this is the Great and Abominable Church. That the Book of Mormon identifies with that sign. And so the definition of contention is to pit oneself against another. And there's the Doctrine and Covenants passage that says, contend against no church but the church of the devil. So I'm being obedient. But they twist it and say, oh, no, you can't condemn us, Travis. You can't criticize us, Travis. You can't, get angry with us because we're murdering Mormons, murdering the saints, like the Great and Abominable Church does. You need to be silent, Travis. You need to be a peacemaker, Travis, and allow us our religious freedom. Oh, they left that out of the... That Arizona bill? Oh, yeah, Arizona bill. LGBTQ. We love you guys. Yeah, they left out religious freedom. That was added in. What is the religious freedom clause? That the church has the right, the religious freedom right, to discriminate against LGBTQ. They get exempt. That's the legal definition, or the legal word they put in there. And they did not tell you that. That is just pure evil. Making LGBTQ audience listeners think that the church prophets are actually loving you guys and want you to be a part of them and Jesus. That's how evil they are. It's me, Jessie. She hadn't done videos in quite a while, and I saw her do one the other day in which she interviewed a former Mormon who left the church who became Christian. And so that's how she deals with things now. She no longer researches the church. Her pastor was concerned, her father was concerned, even though she was doing videos exposing the church for not being Christian. And I tried to put in some comments to help her understand the Mormon view that's different from Christianity in the first place. But yeah, when she asked me in a response, so what religion are you looking for? I knew what she was doing. She was trying to convert me. I brought up Egyptian. Never heard from her again. So anyway, Nelson played all his greatest hits. He refuses to acknowledge he's wrong and keeps pushing the errors that he's been making. He talks about how he prays for us. I just did the prayer video the other day. That's not how you pray. That's idol worship prayer. It's wrong. You're supposed to be inspired and fulfill the inspiration. That's prayer. So when you're giving a blessing to somebody, for a blessing of healing, you don't say, I bless you that you'll be healed from your infirmities. No. You're supposed to get inspiration, which is why you have to talk with the person beforehand. You don't go in blind. It makes it tougher to get inspiration. You get inspiration, and then in the blessing or after the blessing, whenever you're inspired, then you go, hey, let's get you some tea. Let's see if that'll help you feel better. Not the hot drink tea, the herbal tea. Herbal tea. If you're going to spell it with an H, you better expect to be called herb. If it's just going to be called herb, then drop the H. Cut out all this nonsense. Just like sword. If you're going to call it sword, then take out the W. But there's a reason why the W is in there from the original word it comes from. But nonetheless, he brought up coronavirus, still going strong. And the very first time he talked about it, said that Jesus can heal it. Healing power of Jesus. We're going to have fasts. They're going to cure it. $4 million views, and YouTube refuses to take down the healing power of gratitude. And they went after me instead in retaliation. He said, I've still got the clip. I got all the clips. I got all his greatest hits. That's why I know they're his greatest hits. And every now and then I'll throw them in my videos. Temporary. This is going to be temporary. What does it mean to be a prophet again? But the thing is that he profited off of coronavirus. As we all suffered, got hospitalized, and died. We surpassed 1,000 dead. 1,000, right? Better check. I'm pretty sure it is. Pretty sure it's not 100. But I was wrong when I was talking about the number of sleeping bags that they donated to Ukraine refugees. I was thinking 1,100 or 11,000. Oops, only 1,000. Yeah, 1,000. We have surpassed 1,000 elderly deaths in Utah. And the number is undercounted because they did not count those who did not get tested. These reports that were on the coronavirus statistics, and now Cox has said we're only going to update it every week on Thursday. And so we don't have yesterday's numbers because Cox shut it down. He thinks this is just like the flu now. He's taken the emergency status away. And so everybody with long haul symptoms, well, you're screwed. Sucks to be you. The church ain't going to help you. It's just horrifying. And then he talks about the war. Oh my God. What is tithing used for, Mormons? When they announce the temples, and he will announce them Sunday for the last session. What does it mean? It means they used your tithing to pay for the temples that they just announced. And so, Solemn Assembly of Russell M. Nelson, April 2018, April 1st even, and a major city yet to be determined in Russia. Where is that temple? What did Putin do with that money? They had to go through an oligarch, which got approval from Putin. What happened with that money? Where is that temple? Yeah, it's the war. Ezekiel chapter 38. And he, nor the other person who talked about the war, would come right out and say, this is it, guys. This is the big war that everybody knows about. Nelson just quoted, there will be wars and rumors of wars. Yeah, that's prior to the war. We've had those. This is it. And he will not let you think that this is it. They again will not tell you the truth. They will not fulfill their duty as they claim they are in that position of Amos 3:7. Surely the Lord God will do nothing save he shall revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets. And it's understood in the context, they must warn you specifically. Not say, oh, it's in scriptures, it's up to you to figure it out. Chad Daybell figured it out on his own because Monson said, no, you're wrong. This is not the forerunner tetrad for the latter days, with 3 apostles dying and needing to be replaced for the sign in the heavens on the 23rd September 2017. See, the one guy even says, listen to Travis's video about the latter day signs being fulfilled. He doesn't say my name, obviously, but he says, those of you, I'll get to it. We'll read it. We gotta hurry, don't we? See, there are multiple videos to branch off in here. He will not condemn Putin directly. He just says, you guys need to make peace. Putin is the aggressor. He has to back down. He won't back down. He's now guilty of war crimes. He's going to die if he allows himself to be captured or stops the war. Yeah, he's not going to stop. This is the war. Nelson must condemn him, and he won't because he paid him the money to do this war. He paid him for the nukes, the day that shall burn as an oven. Okay. So there's the contention part. Yeah, will not send the missionaries home. He doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. We need more men in the mission field. He pulled a Hinckley. Does he have granddaughters that are considering going on missions, who are now going to rebel and send in their mission papers now? So take that, Nelson. Send your granddaughters to the slaughter, and it'll be on your head. And so I'm also, it's very interesting. I just did the Sociology of Mormonism video about how I know what events transpired during the years where membership growth tanked. And he's coming out, as we no, they're not coming out with membership numbers this year, for last year. Because there's a lot missing now. And so he comes out and says, men, it is your priesthood duty to go on a mission. Why would he have to say that if Mormon boys were just naturally going on their mission when they turn 18? They only have to say it if people are being disobedient. The young men in the church, the teenager boys in the church, are not going on missions. That's what this means. He's exposing an even greater exodus from the church than they want us to know about, as I'm exposing for you. And so, yeah, there's a lot of men who are refusing to go on missions or not going on missions. Good for you guys. But the context is that these young men are no longer a part of the Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts are gone in the church. Nelson did away with it. You know, Monson was saying, oh, we'll phase it out over time. Nelson comes in, boom, we're done, we're out. And then the lawsuits commence. And so that ties together with a stat with event. The church cuts out Boy Scouts, and then boom, you've got a drop in boys going on missions. That's interesting, because I was a Boy Scout. I became an Eagle Scout. I almost didn't, but I did. I was honest. But that didn't inspire me to then go on a mission. And so I'm not sure of the connection here, but that's the only thing I can see where young boys are no longer a part of something that used to be in the church. So that's interesting. And maybe it's different here in Utah. I don't know. I didn't grow up in Utah. And so, yeah, sisters, optional. It's a priesthood responsibility. Ignore 17 March 1842. They don't want you to read that talk by Joseph Smith. They don't want you to know of that meeting. And if you don't know what that means, or the significance of that date, and why the Relief Society celebrates it year after year, and so, yeah, restoration of Constantine's Jesus. Ballard. Yeah, everybody watch Clint Eastwood's Deadpool, that has Jim Carrey be the first death of the movie. He's welcome to the jungle guy, and then the dummy catches on fire, and he goes to his trailer to shoot up drugs, and then dies. He's murdered. Made it look like an overdose, but he was murdered, as we find out. And Clint Eastwood has, I think he's Dirty Harry in that one. I think that was one of his Dirty Harrys. We can check, because it's essential to our eternal salvation. Clint Eastwood, Deadpool. Oh, no, yeah. Harry Callahan, Dirty Harry. Yeah. Inspector Dirty. But Ballard, was he on drugs? Is he taking drugs? That's an indication that he's near death. If he has to take drugs so that he can speak at conference. He looked wasted. Now, I'm not talking about cocaine, drugs. Elderly often have like a gallon of drugs to take every day, every hour. I think the doctors are abusing the elderly that way, but nonetheless, he literally looked like he was wasted, that he was not really there and needed the drugs so that he could read. But he confirmed, as he emphasized missions, they shut my video down. They don't want you to be safe. They don't want your kids safe. They want you dead, so that they can get as much money from whoever they can get it from before the day of burning that they paid for. So, we're in a tetrad, by the way, 2021, 2022. I've gone over that with you. Official Declaration number 1, verse 11. God is pissed and is showing you through the signs in the heavens and the likeness of things on the earth. Joseph Smith translation, Revelation 12:1. Through lunar eclipses. And this is the last day's tetrad, which is the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. They said to listen to me on this. You better listen to them. Give heed. Even though Anderson told me to shut up. They're so confusing, contradictory. Make up your mind, guys. But, there is a God. This is proof. Literal proof. Because this cannot naturally happen on earth. It cannot be self-fulfilled. The prophets would have to know about this. They would have to purposely murder during the right time to make it happen. And though that could be, it's not reasonable. And so, God is letting Mormons know only the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are false. Official declaration, guys. Woodruff set the penalty for himself and all others that murdered Joseph Smith through that succession. I did a count. They had all 15 prophets there. I was surprised, because normally they have one apostle, at least one, sometimes up to 3, who are in another building. And that was for security reasons, in case somebody came in and blew away everybody. There's a problem with that, though, and it shows that they don't understand their own administration that Brigham Young changed it to. If such a thing were to happen, that only 1 or even 3 prophets remained, that's it. That's the end of the church. When those guys are dead, so is the church. The authority to lead the church is gone. They're just regular guys. That's it. They can't run the church because of Section 107. Section 107 says you need a majority to form a quorum to make decisions. So if the president of the church and a majority of the apostles are gone, the church is gone. And I know because of a certain person who wrote a letter to the presidency of the 70, which is on TWG here, as I found out, that they now believe that, if there's a majority of the 70s presidency, then yeah, they can select who the next president of the church is, and they can take over. No. But they'll do that if such occasion will arise, to deceive you guys into thinking the church hasn't fallen, the church is still around, the church is still true, keep giving us your money. God. So understand that. They will lie and deceive to keep the church going, when the scriptures make it very clear that's not even the process in the first place. But nonetheless, what Brigham Young changed it to, the church can now be destroyed. The great and abominable church can fall. Alrighty, so Bednar says that the church uses the hymns to hypnotize Mormons with false doctrine. He gave the example about what was it called? It was the Evan Stevens song, but I didn't put the title. Fear not, courage not. Let us all press on. Evan Stevens is my third great uncle. I come through his sister. Evan Stevens did not get married. He did not, therefore, have a polygamous wife. And so he was delegated to be the choir leader, the first choir leader of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. And Jesus wasn't mad about calling it the Mormon Tabernacle Choir back then. I guess he's now mad. But the church has removed the secondary choir line. That's why I'm able to sing the secondary choir line, because I'm old school. But you youngins, you didn't even know there was, unless you researched the history of it. And there is a book to give you the history of each of the hymns. I don't know if it's been updated, but yeah. Fear not, courage, though the enemy deride. We must be victorious, for the Lord is on our side. We will fear not the rain, no need what to say about the Lord, our Heavenly Father, Him alone we will obey. Gone. Because the prophets think that is Lucifer's distraction away from the Spirit. The hymns are purposely made dull and boring because they claim that's how you listen to the Spirit. It's a big con. Dear God, I need to shut the windows. Getting too hot. Alright, so it was horrible because he justifies, heed not the wicked. And he uses as his example Joseph Smith Sr.'s Jewish mysticism. Which, he's not going to tell you the truth. He's not going to tell you about the New Israelites, which were Congregationalists in Vermont. He's not going to tell you that the tree of life is the Jewish mystical tree of life, of the perfection of the human, the bloodline to become the Christ. No! Jesus! And so he deceives you guys because by saying wicked, that we must not heed the wicked, is too generalized. I just did the video this morning. They want you to fill in the blanks of who the wicked are. And that incites you to hate. Because if you put it in the context of the hymn now, the whole world is our enemy. You see what the church has done? We Mormons of Jesus are the only good on the earth. Every other human being is automatically wicked because they're not Mormon. And therefore we shouldn't listen to anyone of the world because they're wicked. You see how he incited you to hate and you didn't even realize it. You were brainwashed. That's how brainwashing works. They alter definitions, they put in generalized words for you to fill in the blanks, and suggest the meaning, so that just in case you don't get the right meaning, they suggest to you, the power of suggestion, as to what the right meaning is. And so, yeah, they speak from the scriptures, they quote from the scriptures, but their meaning and interpretation is their God, evil. Yeah, he claims I'm a booming voice on social media, and that I'm contentious, and that I'm not a peacemaker. Stay away from me. Look at my views, guys. You know they can't be talking about me, but yet they are. Yes, conference. Yeah, you'll see a lot more views than normal because it's a conference. But this is a cognitive dissonance that they're pretending to have and hoping that Mormons will catch it. That they use the scriptures to justify acting as evil, corrupt, and criminal. Because when you are contentious, when you are contending, and the devil loves contention, right? Well, it means you're lying. You're flattering, pacifying, deceiving. You're purposely contending that way because you're not telling the truth. Whereas a peacemaker, a true peacemaker, is someone who tells the truth. A true peacemaker during this big war is one who calls out Putin and says, stop. You are guilty of war crimes. You are guilty of genocide. Stop. I condemn you. Because I'll do it. Putin, stop. What you're doing is wrong. See? It wasn't hard at all. The prophets will not do that. They are not the peacemakers. They are telling the victims to conform and comply to Putin. They are on the defensive. They can't sue for peace. They're under attack. And so I'm hearing news reports that the Ukrainians are actually attacking back in Russia. Good for you guys. Keep it up. I fully approve. Because you can't just kick out the Russians out of Ukraine and that'll be the end of it. No. Putin's declared war on you. You've got to take it to him. You are the defenders. You are in the right. You have turned the other cheek and he hit it. You are now justified in defending your lives, your land, your liberty, your families, your property. Go get them. Because NATO and the United States will not help you. And Putin knows this and he's exploiting that. So I'm all for people who defend themselves against aggressors. But aggressors love to accuse the victims of being the aggressors when they stand up to defend themselves. It's called victim blaming. Alright. Yeah, negative is not evil or bad. Again, the concept of a negative is misdefined. You know, for me to be negative about the church, yeah, because I'm being truthful. They're the great and abominable church. And so it's not a bad thing, but it is a negative exposure. And the church says, oh, only faith-promoting things need to be talked about, to be peaceful, to be good. Because they want to get away with their lies, deceptions, crimes, treason, sedition, terrorism. More crimes. Now, there's the Arizona bill by Anderson. And he was the one who ordered me to be silent. He's referring to Jesus getting arrested and being presented before Caiaphas, who wanted him assassinated. Who is Caiaphas in the story? He's the president of the church. Jesus is like Abinadi to King Noah. And so he says Jesus was silent, therefore critics need to be silent. Abinadi wasn't silent, and Jesus wasn't silent in chapter 23. But again, Anderson is purposely misinterpreting the passage. This is a prophecy, remember? Constantine made this a literal history. This is a prophecy. It's the same in all apocalyptic literature hero stories. I just told you, Abinadi, and Moses, and Joseph Smith with Liberty Jail, which I will be covering. Yeah, it's one of the second 70 that talked. But the Liberty Jail thing, Joseph is told that he was there because of false brethren who falsely accused him. And I've gone over that with you. Yeah, he wasn't even there. He was in far west Missouri at the time that the Utah war with the election fraud and the gang of Danites forced the sheriff and the judge to sign that Joseph Smith approved of this. And that's why the governor gave the extermination order and wanted Joseph Smith arrested. It's because the Danites forced those guys to testify that it was Joseph Smith when he had documented evidence in far west Missouri of his innocence. And so Liberty Jail, when he says, when you are locked up and falsely accused by false brethren, that's what he's referring to. And Nelson used it on me to give me a death threat. And so again, I refer you, 19 July 1840, which Brigham Young refused to make scripture because Joseph Smith calls out the false brethren, Brigham and his 12. He knows who betrayed him. And so the second guy also said, if you skip church, you're going to die. So you better go to church. You don't want to die, do you? But I just did that example just the other day again for you. It's when you think you're getting inspiration, but you can't confirm the results. You have to be able to confirm the results to know if the voice was good or bad, if the idea, the inspiration, revelation, whatever you want to call it, was good or bad. If you can't confirm it, you don't have a test, and you have to dismiss it. That's what the stake president doesn't realize, or the 70 who's making up a Paul Dunn story. Those of you who are my age and above know who I'm talking about. But in that situation, he didn't have to go to the stake conference. He could have just stayed home. He could have gone somewhere else. And that's the error in his thinking process, or the story's thinking process, is that, oh, well, if he had gone to the stake conference, then he wouldn't have gotten into the car accident. Dear God. Oh, man. This isn't going to make it up on time. Crap. I'm going to transfer it over to the other computer and upload it there. Alrighty. And so, but there's also another error in his talk. Stake presidents are called in advance, so that the conference then has it all planned out to have the person announced. They are told in advance, and they have to keep it a sacred secret from everyone. They're not allowed to reveal it. You got to keep it a secret, and the wife too. She can't gossip the answer. Nope, you got to keep it a secret. You know, you don't go to stake conference as a regular member, and all of a sudden you find out that your stake president's being released, and then you're in the audience going, oh crap, oh no, they need a new stake president. They're going to call me out of the audience, out of the blue, to be the stake president. That's not how it happens. He was purposely putting fear into Mormons to go to church in fear that you're going to be called to a position of authority without you knowing about it. That's not how it works. Alright. The previous one, he brought up the Sabbath day, an anachronism. That's a Babylonian culture. That was not the original practice. Babylon created the Sabbath day. It's a culturally appropriated Jewish holy day from the Babylonians. It was a superstitious day. They created a 7-day week calendar. And the 7 was a bad luck, unlucky number, and so you don't do work on that day because you're going to be cursed. You're going to die if you work on the Sabbath. That's where it comes from. And so to hear the church talk Jesus and talk Sabbath day, yeah, no, guys. I know, Abinadi condemned the priests of King Noah for not observing the Sabbath. That's an anachronism. It's not a literal history. Alright. And then, Irene. He's got hearing aids. And the right ear, it seems like he has a cover to make it look like it's his ear, but it looks like it's bulging and warped. But I think all it is a hearing aid, and he's trying to cover it up so that we don't get distracted by looking at it, which we get distracted by looking at it because it's weird. But apparently he's got hearing loss and has to have hearing aids, because I saw it in the other ear that did not have the extra flap of skin to cover it up. But again, this is another thing that Brigham Young changed, is that counselors are only counselors. They are not presidents. We're not supposed to call them President so-and-so. They are counselors. Only the president is the president. And so counselors can therefore be elders or high priests or 70, it doesn't matter. But the tradition has been that it's an apostle, and so there's an additional 3 who are apostles, one being the president. And that is creating in the younger generation the belief that, well, in order to be a counselor, you have to be a prophet from the apostles. And no, again, they were just adding more to the Supreme Court to stack the court in case of a Deadpool scenario. And Irene, yeah, he fakes his smiles, first of all. I've always known that in him. But he was much slower this time around. His speech was slower. Even though he was reading, even though he was faking the smile, he was normally slower than usual. That's an indication of old age getting to you. And so, check your Deadpool list. It's the tetrad. But we're waiting for the fall of the church. We have to have the fall. If we don't have the fall, we don't have an Exodus. If we don't have an Exodus, we don't have Zion. If we don't have Zion, we have no place of peace, safety, and refuge from the war. He also would not admit the Great War. But he was the one who said, watch my videos, you'll know the truth about the latter days. Go back and listen to him. I've got history with Irene on multiple occasions. My mom in Southern California sat next to him. I sat next to his daughter at one of his talks in the Tabernacle. And Kimberly, I explained to her my Paleo-Hebrew decipherment, and then she gets up and goes over to the phone, and then I hear her say, "Hey, Sister Irene, how you doing?" And I was impressed. She knew what I had told her and was able to explain it. I was impressed. I liked her very much, and she broke up with me because she disagreed about the Greek meaning of charity, which is incorrectly translated. Oh my God! Perfect, and then she blows it by refusing to understand the Greek. So, I'm sure she's gotten remarried, but regardless. No, she was not my wife. But, again, Amos 3:7, he says it's up to Mormons, not the prophets, to warn you of the latter days. That you have to take it upon yourselves to pull yourselves by your own bootstraps to study and look for the signs of the latter days. Because the prophets aren't going to do it. He confessed. It's up to you guys. Only those of you who are looking will know. And nobody's looking, right? You're waiting for them to tell you. And so me, I'm the only one. I'm it. Not even that other woman. She has no clue. But she's popular. And then he goes on to do the generalized wording again to brainwash you. Satan's messages are to destroy you. Yeah, that's what I've been telling you. And who has the symbol of Satan on their keystone of the Salt Lake Temple door? But that's the whole point. They tell you the truth, but don't tell you the truth that they're the bad guys. And that's the dangerous, deadly part of it. I'm going to have to think of a picture, too, and transfer that over. And then, love. He says it means to be obedient and keep the commandments. Again, generalized. What does it mean to be obedient? What are you talking about? What do you mean keep the commandments? What commandments? 10 commandments? Or temple covenants, which you then called out later? Temple covenants. What are you referring to? He purposely uses generalized words so that you impose your own opinions as to what it means. And so, I have to obey. The prophets tell us in the For Strength of the Youth pamphlet that we can't drink caffeinated drinks. No Mountain Dew for me. Okay. No. Love. That's it. That's all. He is purposely giving you hedge laws that the Pharisees did. And again, I refer you to Matthew chapter 23 again. Hilarious. It was awesome. It's like it's the part of the movie where you stand up and go, yeah, get him. Matthew 23 is awesome. And of course they finished with, rejoice, the Lord is King. Who? Which Lord? The man like Moses or Jesus? So, dear God, the hate. Stop the hate. Alrighty.